Welcome to the Global Gratitude Summit. I'm Luann Zaraga Walters. Sharon is actually on family business heading up to Jacksonville just in case Hurricane Michael, this is October as we're recording this show, wants to take a little bit of a curve and head over that way. So we are Team Zaraga Walters, which is so appropriate because our guest today is our relationship guide. Our guest sees relationships through the dual lens of trust and gratitude. Jonathan Shippey has been a licensed marriage and family therapist in private practice since 2000, and he's a certified Gottman couples therapist and master trainer with the Gottman Institute. His work with the Gottman method has led to his role as a national speaker on how couples, families, individuals, and groups of people can both heal their relationships and create relationships that are healing. I just love that. We are honored to have him join us today. So welcome, Jonathan. Thanks for being on the Global Gratitude Summit.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
You know, we had a little bit of a preliminary interview with you, and it was wonderful to hear the work that you're doing. You know, we think about how many issues that we have facing society, facing the workplace, and how much of that starts right here in the home. I know that the Gottman method and the Gottman Institute is well known in a very larger way within the relationship psychology, psychiatry areas, but not maybe so much outside of that. So can you talk a little bit about the Gottman Institute and the Gottman method?
Sure. So the Gottman Institute really began as a collaboration between Doctors John and Dr. Julie Gottman, who are married to each other. And Dr. John was doing research for decades, began in the early 70s. A unique way of doing research that not many had done before, where he caught deep, he had people hooked up to heart rate monitors. They gave blood and urine samples to measure stress hormones before and after. He had the recordings videoed. No one was really doing videography back then. He had the couples look at the videos after they were recorded to kind of dial in, like, where were you most upset as you watched these sessions. He had video coders who were looking at their facial expressions, and there are facial expressions that are connected with emotions. And so it's really deep observational research. And he had them come in, and mostly they received two prompts. One was, we'd like for you to discuss the events of your day together, a kind of a check-in with each other. And then they would have that conversation. And then after a while, he'd say, good, could you now discuss a problem in your relationship? Which basically evoked them to have some sort of conflict. So he could watch couples having a kind of normal everyday conversation and compare it to the conflict conversation. And he did that same basic format in several studies of different people of different cultures. The San Francisco Bay Area is a rich multicultural place. So there were people from many, many cultures involved in some of the studies. His headquarters for the research was primarily Seattle, but some of these studies were done in other places. Some of the studies involved gay and lesbian couples, and he just kept watching people and trying to find the pattern. And what are the patterns of lasting love? And I know we're going to talk about some of that, with what the patterns are and some things that we definitely want to avoid if we want relationships to thrive. And in the early 90s, Julie, his wife, Dr. Julie Gottman, came to him, and they'd love to tell the story that Julie asked him, how many couples have you actually helped with all of this research that you've done? And he said, gosh, it never really occurred to me to intervene and help people. I'm just collecting information. And he likes to say, Julie wanted to help people and I was ambivalent, so I compromised and we helped people. And that was the origins of the Gottman Institute, so that people like me could actually become aware of the research and learn how to help couples. So the Research Institute teaches therapists how to apply what Gottman learned, and the interventions, conversation guidelines, we might think of them, to how the rest of us can duplicate these patterns of loving couples. And it's also an institute where couples can go and attend workshops. And then the workshops now, I've been taught, many of my peers have been taught to actually offer those couples workshops around the world. So it's a training institute, equipping people to have better relationships.
So the
Sure.
reason why we really were so interested in having you on and your specialty in the Gottman method, obviously this is the Global Gratitude Summit. So how does gratitude play that role in either healing, really helping heal relationships, or in, as you say on your website, in creating relationships that heal? What is gratitude's aspect around that?
Yeah, I think it's a key component of the again, Gottman found he just watched people and listened to them and kept sort of looking at physiology and did they have really high heart rate spikes, which is a kind of a fight or flight response? And how would that affect their communication if they did? And all of this research, he found patterns, and one of the patterns was that loving couples who have what we like to say is a good enough love, it's good enough for them, and set your expectations high, and realize that um, day-to-day moments have their ups and downs, and no relationship is perfect, but definitely do set high expectations. And but one of the trends, the patterns, if you will, is that they do what Gottman calls share fondness and admiration. And so there's an idea there that it's one thing to maybe feel fond and to admire your partner, to be grateful, if you will, but the key component is that you share it, and it's we also like to say there's some buzzwords we use around the Gottman Institute. One of those buzz phrases, one of those. I like to say if there were a stone arch that was the way into the Gottman Institute, it's actually just a part of an office building in Seattle. But I imagine this like stone arch, and you walk under it, and carved in the stone is small things often. And John found these key little bitty moments that go by. We're either going to turn toward each other and really be with each other, and it's going to be a moment that takes us to a next better moment, or it's going to be a moment that turns things in a bad direction, more towards pain. And one of those key little moments is sharing, I appreciate this about you, and sharing that often, and then really taking it in when your partner does say thank you to you. It's a key
Mm.
component that these master couples is what we call them, and everybody can achieve mastery. There's some basics. It's not you don't have to be an expert to be in a master relationship.
How can two people in a relationship offer gratitude from an authentic point of view? Because sometimes, Jonathan, um, it can come off in a less than authentic manner.
Sure.
Not real, like, well, thanks for that, well, I'm saying thank you, that kind of a thing. So how can
Right.
they be authentic with it? And then also, how can you authentically receive that? What does that look like in a healthy way?
Yeah. So one of the gifts that the Gottmans have given us, and this is one of the places where Dr. Julie Gottman came to Dr. John Gottman, like I said, about 25 years ago, and they really got together. John was a researcher who had a little bit of therapy experience, and Julie had focused primarily as a therapist clinician who had some research experience. And I always say it's a little bit like, peanut butter, chocolate, the two of them together just go better. It's a great synergistic kind of a relationship they have. And but one of their contributions was this model of this finding a word picture, a graphic, and I think you're going to show that at some point or we have a way to get that. But they called it the Sound Relationship House, and so there's sound meaning like architecturally sound. A sound building will stand the test of time, and it can really withstand the winds and problems that come along with weather. It's a solid structure. It's going to make it. Might take some hits along the way, but it's going to be solid and get through it. And that's a great metaphor for relationships that last. And they've broken this down into some real key components. And one of the aspects of this model, this theory of love, is that there's a real interplay in these different aspects of love. And so gratitude is something that really comes along and is a kind of a gift that comes from these small things often. So doing little things that say to your partner, I know you, I know this about you. I know a kind of a gift that you're going to like. And I know whether you'd like to be surprised by that gift or whether you'd not like to be surprised by a gift. And I can tell you things that I admire about you. And I share the fondness and admiration. And when you come to me in pain or joy or any feeling, I will respond to you and I'll attend to you and I'll really be with you in that. So we call that turning toward instead of turning away. And
Mm.
all of those activities, and those are the lower levels of that house, they've named these aspects of love. Those are the lower three levels of the house. And if you do all that stuff on a regular basis and you're experiencing that together, the gift that you get as a result is what we call the positive perspective. And it's a little bit like there's an emotional bank account, and that gift, the result, is doing all those things. So, in other words, you can't really just think happy thoughts and get your way there if all these little activities along the way are not happening. And if you do these activities together where little moments go by and you say, I know this about you, and I like this about you. And when the lover calls, I respond, and they get top priority. And you say to them, what matters to you matters just as much to me as it does to you. I'm not going to live my life where what matters to me matters more. And so when we do all of that, we're building trust and we're giving ourselves this emotional bank account, out of which comes a kind of a natural, I think of it as sort of a wellspring of gratitude. We're building in the culture in which gratitude is just naturally going to happen between us. And then this kind of circular thing happens because the gratitude also feeds back into, oh, that was really nice. You liked that. It was nice to hear. Thank you. And so then that also becomes a kind of a great cycle of positivity, if you will.
You said something a minute ago, and I had to go back into my notes to find it, but it was actually at the core of why we decided on "Can I Get a Witness?"
Yeah.
Right, for your talk, and that is that kind of sharing is gratitude in action. I'm going to try to say this appropriately, and then please fill it in or alter however. But what
Sure.
I'm hearing is um, gratitude in action within that context can be, I see you, I hear you, I want to be part of your life, and by showing you how grateful I am that you are my partner or my sister or my whatever,
Mm.
I'm allowing you to be you, and I want to be here when you need me to be here. Do I get that right, Jonathan? Am I interpreting that the right way?
Oh, I think you're right on the money on that. I love how you said you get to be you in relationships of any kind that work. Um, I get to be me, and that doesn't mean I just get to be, I don't get to just say what I need to say, and I'm just sharing. You'll hear people say sometimes it's like, well, you're just sharing is kind of hurting my feelings. So I think actually one of my clients gave me a standard. He said, "Is what I'm about to say loving? Is it kind? And is it loving? Is it true? And is it necessary?" And sometimes I think that's a great standard. And so I'm wondering a little bit off track, but the point would be I get to be me. I get to be me, and I don't have to be on my best behavior. And when I do slip up, which I'm going to, you give me the grace to say that didn't work for me. Let's try again. And I get to repair it. And part of repairing is to start with, sometimes start with, I really appreciate. It might even be, I appreciate you letting me know that I was having a bad effect on you so that I can have a chance to fix that with you.
Hmm.
That's actually a gift. Again, kind of the idea, it is necessary to say, I'm hurting. Will you sit with me and see if we can figure out what happened in my pain here?
That actually opens up so much. I can think of just recently when my only sister, whom I love dearly, and I had a bit of friction. And
Hmm.
my response was super defensive. And she said, I just want to be able to talk with you about this. And I thought, wow. And so what you're actually saying is there is a gratitude and grace. They're very synonymous in that aspect because
Yes.
I was grateful that she gently called me out enough to open up the conversation so it didn't just become, sisterly confrontation. And it was, okay, let's take a moment. Let me let me diffuse this and hear her, because she's just asking for me to hear her. That's all.
Yeah.
And
Can I get a witness? She needed you to
exactly.
witness it. Yeah.
But and so there's a challenge from that, because I know that I had to walk through that, right?
Yeah.
I had to walk through that wall of defense and realize, no, this is my sister, my only sibling, whom I love dearly, and this is meant to be just a healthy exchange. So let's have this conversation. But I had to get to that, and I couldn't have done it had she not given me that. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
There is that grace
Mhm.
tied with a very deep unspoken sense of gratitude of, I'm grateful to be in this relationship with you. I'm grateful to have you as my sibling, and I'm grateful to have this opportunity to be able to have this conversation. So let's just talk. There,
Yeah.
that's a huge thing, what you just said, and it resonated. I went, well, I just had that. Wow.
Well,
So
and and I also would draw your attention to it. I have a hunch that you guys have done more over the years. There's been more things you've done that pour into the relationship, if you will, that emotional bank account. Your ability to hear her when she kind of calls you and says, "Hey, come back to me here," and you're able to hear that. That's a testimony to the emotional bank account.
those
That
deposits that they say, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So gratitude, I mean, one way of kind of focusing on that is, I think every time I say thank you genuinely, and you mentioned this a minute ago, you didn't say it this way, but I know we all know that sometimes I've done this, I say thank you with a kind of an expectation attached to it. Like, you better really get this. You better be grateful. I'm going to say thank you, but you really better let me know you're welcome in response. And there's a little bit of like, I don't know. It doesn't feel right when it's that kind of thank you. It feels like a thank you with a little bit of a request or an ask attached to
The
it.
expectation, yeah, there
Yeah.
can't be an expectation tied to it, right? It just has
Well,
to be
I
given.
think if there is, we just need to be clear about it. I think it's the hidden agendas that really trip people up. So what I really need is, hey, I'm about to say thank you for something, and I really need you to stop for a minute and take this in. I mean, I might even need to kind of set that up. So I'm trying to be upfront and honest and true about my expectations. So I don't think it's say, don't have them. And I think the best thank yous are a gift that's just freely given, just like a gift. If I'm giving a gift with strings attached, it's not going to feel good as a gift. And when I give a gift and it's freely given, and I know you're going to like it, I have a hunch you're going to like this gift. I'm excited about giving it. I'm excited about you receiving it. And that's really all I want in those gift giving moments. So we might think of thank yous as gifts that we give with no strings attached. And when we do it that way, it really does build that emotional bank account. I can't overstate I think it's these simple little moments can seem so unnecessary or not even, what else? But no, it really is. It does matter. It really does matter. The small moments.
Walk us through now the 7 levels of the sound relationship house, and I'm glad that you defined sound. That it's
Yeah.
not a sound studio somewhere, but it's an actual well built a
Yeah.
sound relationship house. 7 levels and 2 walls, I think you said.
Exactly. Right. So I also when I'm teaching this, I introduce it to every couple who comes to see me. Um, and I can tell you more about if you're curious about how a Gottman therapist starts up therapy. But one of the things we do is a very careful assessment process. We don't just jump right in and start intervening and helping people. And that involves a few very, we can lay out for them the expectations of those first few appointments. But the assessment phase ends with a feedback and goal setting session that we collaborate on, the couple and I. And actually, that Art and Science of Love couples workshop I was describing, that's really built all around the house. So you have 2 days of conversations that take you through this whole model experientially. You get to experience something on every level and the 2 columns, the 2 walls. So when you're thinking about this model, I'm hoping people will be able to see a visual of this. But when we look at this model, there are, if you imagine landscape lights that shine on different parts of the house so that they're sort of grouped together.
Mhm.
The lower 3 levels are what we call the levels of friendship. and intimacy. And I love the play on words that one of my friends gave me. I hate that I can't give credit for this, but the idea is into me see, letting me see into you, you seeing into me, that the witness aspect, right? Can I get a witness? So it is the royal road to intimacy and true conversational intimacy, sexual intimacy, if that's a part of this relationship. If it's a friendship, maybe that's not a component, but obviously for our life partners, we think of sexual intimacy as a part. And it's not going to happen if we don't do the into me see stuff of, so the first level we call it love mapping. And the idea is, if I know you and I know you currently, I have a detailed love map, and I know who your friends are. I know the things that worry you. I know the things you hope for. I know if you won the lottery, what you'd probably spend the money on. I know whether you'd play the lottery or not. I know these details about the people I love. I have love maps of my children. I have love maps of my friends. And particularly my committed partner. That this is a key component, basically knowing. And then the next level right up from there is sharing fondness and admiration, which is really the idea of focusing on gratitude. What is it that I like about you? And what can I tell you? And do I do that? Do you feel, that's really also the standard, is do you feel that your partner is fond of you, that they admire you? And if not, maybe we haven't had enough of the sharing of fondness and admiration. You might want to be more intentional about when we teach this at couples workshops. I say, if you see it, say it. It's kind of like that TSA thing, but used maybe in a better way. But if you see it, say it. It's not enough to just notice. It's really, really important that you share it. And then the idea of this, the third level up, turning towards, or instead of turning away, is that when it's that responsiveness. When you call to me, it might even be just we're in the room hanging out and you're on your laptop and you go, And when we're sitting side by side, that actually is what we've in the Gottman world call a bid for connection. So just that non-word kind of monosyllabic and what's happening there is you're expecting me, you're at some level, you're kind of hoping I'm going to say, what? And so that is the essence of the very basic of turning toward. And if I don't respond, if I don't say what, our connection is that's where it's going to die. You're just going to probably stop doing that and you're going to go back into your technology and we're not going to connect. And so when we don't respond, that's actually a turning away. And then turning against is even worse, because it's something like being harsh with our person with our partner when they come to us, maybe saying, could you shut up? I'm trying to focus on my show. Maybe I saw a video of one of the couples where we got this research from, and the gentleman's on the couch, his wife is talking to him, and they're in a small little apartment space. It was one of John's research projects, was to furnish an apartment and have people agree to come and just live for a weekend and be observed. And so from that footage, they were videoed, the guy turns the volume up on the remote as his wife is talking to him and doesn't look up at her. He just focuses on the TV. It's kind of painful. And that's actually not turning away, that's turning against. But if we do all those things, we're actually building this friendship and intimacy system. And the result we get is that fourth level of the house. It says the positive perspective, but I think of it more as like when I check my bank statement at the bank, do I have a positive balance? And so that fourth level, people see the positive perspective. And a lot of folks think, yes, my partner's negative. They tell me when they complain to me, and they tell me they are having a bummer of a day and they're just negative Nelly. And I always want to say that's actually a good thing. It's good that your partner comes to you with their pain. That's not what we're talking about with this idea of the positive perspective. The positive perspective is, how's our emotional bank account? And if we have that positive perspective, we're actually going to be able to do the tasks in the upper part of the house. Another aspect of that friendship and intimacy and the positive perspective, the turning toward instead of away, is that it fills up these columns on the sides of the walls of the house of trust and commitment. So at every little moment where you are my witness and I come to you with a moment that's difficult and you attend to me, and the same that I do for you, we're filling up that wall of trust and we're deepening our sense of commitment. This is a person I can really depend on, is what those moments give us. So those are the building blocks of trust and commitment. And then we also have some levels above all that, and levels 5, 6, and 7. One of which is managing conflict. We know that lasting love, lasting relationships are going to involve conflict. You mentioned this little snag that you and your sister ran into recently, and the managing of that. If you had stayed in your defensiveness and wouldn't have let her speak, that would not have been managing conflict.
Mhm.
So you guys managed, you worked your way through that. That's a hallmark of lasting love. It's not that we avoid conflict, it's that when it happens, Dr. Julie Gottman says that's conflict is a way of deepening our knowledge of the people we love. So level 5 is really interesting. It's called Make Life Dreams Come True. And some people look at that and they go, that sounds like, when you wish upon a star. And and maybe there is an element of that in lasting love, but the idea really that's not apparent from that is that's actually one of John's greatest contributions, is that he identified that not all conflict is the same, and that in any lasting relationship, actually it's a pretty high set point. It's about 7 out of every 10 things that comes at us in life, we are different. So introverts are partnered with extroverts, and people that are really punctual are partnered with people that struggle with time and getting places on time. And tidy people are partnered with messy people. And what's interesting is that the happy couples that he identified had that same set point. It's about 7 out of 10. So compatibility really isn't the key to lasting love. But so what is the difference? Because if we're all dealing with this kind of really high percentage of differences, what's the secret? And the secret is discerning that in any conflict, if it feels like we're getting into something that's a little more stuck and really hard to talk through, we've probably stumbled into what we call an existential difference. And we're like this. And John says if we can catch that this is one of those moments where I'm me and you're you, and I really need to know that you think I'm okay being me, and you need to know that I think you're okay being you. And yet we're stuck right now because we're so different on this. That what we need to do is stop problem solving and demanding for change and getting to a solution. And we need to have a conversation that allows this dove of a dream to fly open when we open up. And underneath, there's a dream within that conflict. So making life dreams come true is actually a part of managing conflict. And that's the second landscape light. It shines on this part of conflict management. But a part of conflict management is understanding what's going on with you that I'm not getting. What does it mean to you to be punctual? Why is that so important? And we actually have a guided conversation that we take people through. This is really the bulk of what a lot of couples struggle with. They've gotten really stuck. They've gotten gridlocked around their differences. They each do not feel accepted by the other. And they feel like people are saying, you just got to change. You just got to change. And what we like to say is one of the taglines of lasting love from a study of couples who have been together for very long times, and both people reported they were happy. So the researchers ended the study, and the tagline was, "Baby, I love you exactly as you are, and for God's sake, would you please change?" And the idea is, if I lead with, you're okay, I really like you, and I need to talk to you about this thing. That's a different attitude than, hey, I've been thinking, and I've got about 5 ways. If you'll just change and get all this fixed, then I'm going to find you acceptable. None of us respond well to that.
Right.
Real quick, the top level of the house we call create shared meaning. And what John found in the patterns was that couples could get along well enough, they liked each other well enough, but if they didn't intentionally weave their lives together with meaning, so create rituals of connection, such as date nights or endeavors that they do together, finding a way to really weave their lives together. If they didn't do that, they really wouldn't make it. So the idea is we have to find and build in with intentionality a common direction for us, and it involves all kinds of rituals and the meaning and having discussions about what things mean,
Mhm.
rituals, roles, our goals in life. What does it mean to be a husband? What does it mean to be a father? Those are roles, and then things like symbolism. So, what does it mean to save money? What does it mean to
Mhm.
spend money? All those kinds of conversations. All of that's going to be held together.
It's finding the similar values within your house, basically
Yeah,
finding those
yeah,
same values that pull that relationship together,
yeah.
and
And
then intentionally practicing something around them.
for sure, exactly. So there's that big picture kind of big time goals, but there's also little things we do together in the here and now that say we're in this together. And all of those levels of the house are really held together by these columns of trust and commitment.
Mhm.
So obviously, there are commitments and contracts, covenants, if you will, in lasting relationships, and we don't violate those. That's going to be the basics of trust. But and it's going to be a continual. I am committed to you. You are my person. You are my friend. You are my child. Whatever it might be, there's commitment in a relationship that lasts. So those are the exterior walls. But I hope I've kind of explained that the little things we're doing, the small things often in the middle, are also really filling up those walls.
Mhm.
And I describe for my clients at least, I think of them more as kind of old mercury thermometers
Mhm.
rather than like solid walls. They're almost like, if you think of the idea of fluidity, we're either constantly filling those up and then we're building in ways that they can contain the good stuff that we're filling them in with,
Mhm.
or we're doing things. I mean, an obvious trust violation, such as a betrayal, like an infidelity. That's a huge hit. Sledgehammer, a wrecking ball to the wall of trust. So a lot of the good that we've done is going to leak out. And so in couples in those situations, our job 1 through 50 is rebuilding that wall of trust first before we can really get in and start restructuring what's happening. Yeah.
Jonathan, when you were talking about these, it really made me think about the intentionality um, of a relationship, and in the aspect of gratitude, the intentional sharing of appreciation, the intentional um, and gratitude can be both shared and felt. And sometimes we have to intentionally draw ourselves back into, why did I marry this person? Why am I invested in this friendship? Why am I supportive of my coworker? Why am I, why am I committed to this relationship, wherever it is and whatever it looks like? But
Yeah.
that starts with um, really recognizing and feeling that. And I think that's something that we're hearing as a consistent theme from a lot of our guest experts in the summit, is just like you're saying, there are aspects of gratitude that happen spontaneously, and
Yes.
then there are aspects of gratitude that take a commitment, a focus, an intention
Yes.
towards a goal of something. And that's what I'm hearing from you in this sound relationship house, towards
Yes.
getting to those levels. I love it. It's wow. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your commitment to helping people. We wouldn't have business, we wouldn't have society, we wouldn't have anything really without that human to human connection. And that's what you do every day. So thank you
Thank
so much for your heartfelt passion around it, which I could feel through the camera lens, and I'm sure that the attendees can also feel too. And thank you for your guidance. So I
you.
want to let everybody know once again that you can reach out to Jonathan and find out more about him at his website, which is Shippey, that's Shippey, and then LMFT, which is Licensed Marriage and Family Therapist.com, JShippeyLMFT.com, which will also be in the credits, and also on the day live page of this
Sure.
summit. So thank you, Jonathan. Thank you so much for being on the Global Gratitude Summit, and just wishing you all the best for your further endeavors. Keep doing what you're doing. You're making the world a better place.
Thank you. I really feel that. And I'm just great. I'm grateful right now for this day and this time that we've shared together. So thank you so much.
You bet.